So he's now watched it. So you could skip claim it to or discuss it.
All stand. Coronial courts now resume. Please be seated.
Mr. Officer, you're standing.
I am, Your Honour. In answer to your question earlier, about 17th of May 2017, Mr. Rolfe commenced the IRT. That was his evidence at trial. Secondly, on this line of questioning, I wish to renew my objection on the basis of relevance. Previous objection was on the basis of unfairness, but, Your Honour, in my respectful submission, this officer's interpretation or opinion or otherwise of what's depicted on a video of a video is of no assistance to the inquiry. You can make of it what you will of the video yourself and any evidence that Mr. Rolfe may give about it in the cross-examination. It's not for this witness to comment on you to the extent that it can assist your inquiry. Your Honour, please.
I took the opportunity to have a look at the material over the lunch break. And in my view, I would be assisted by this witness having a look at the material and providing what evidence he can in relation to the material that's depicted and the IRT and membership of the IRT. So I am going to allow questions.
Your Honour, please.
Sergeant Bowens, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Over the lunch break, over the break, you had an opportunity to watch that footage.
Yeah, yes, I did.
And I asked you some questions about the professionalism and discipline of the IRT, and in particular, Mr. Rolfe. You recall that?
Yes.
You'd agree that the footage you watched depicted an interaction with two men in a park in Alice Springs?
Yeah, yes, it was.
And did Constable Rolfe's conduct in that video demonstrate the degree of professionalism and discipline that you expected of the IRT?
Firstly, when you're looking at a snippet of a video, it's hard to make full assumptions. For instance, obviously, I would like to have a lot more information at hand. Did they just arrive at that scene? Was there a report? What was a report was made to police? The report could have instigated that there was weapons involved, or these people had done previous violent offences, or in fact, as we've seen, they could have been two drunk Indigenous engaging in a fight. So with very little background to go on and a 10-second video, I can make a very limited response of what I see, and from what I can see, there could have been a better way to deal with that situation, but that's only based on that limited information that I've got.
Let's move away from what's actually depicted in the footage, and let me ask you this. You agree that the video you watched is a video of a computer on which that body-worn video footage is being depicted?
Yes, that appears so.
And you'd agree that, well, assume that the person watching the footage, Constable Rolfe, is filming the body-worn video as they review it. You'd agree that they laugh as they watch the footage?
Yes, they did.
And does that display the professionalism and discipline that you expected of the IRT?
Oh, it's inappropriate, and it's not just IRT, it's probably for the police force in general, that higher level of professionalism in that manner is deemed appropriate.
And are you aware, or do you agree, that body-worn footage is protected information under Northern Territory law?
Oh, yes.
That isn't to be used inappropriately or recorded and disseminated further without, save in certain circumstances?
Yeah, it has. I mean, it does get copied on phones quite a lot to ID offenders and to assist investigations. So whether it's illegal or not, it happens. But
does it get copied onto phones frequently for the apparent amusement of police officers?
Sorry, go again, sorry.
Does it get copied onto telephones regularly for the apparent amusement of police officers?
Not that I can see, no.
Would that be appropriate? Leave to one side whether or not it's lawful. Would that be appropriate?
Oh, it's not appropriate behaviour, no.
Would it display the professionalism and discipline that you expected of the IRT?
I would expect better.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to ask you about was a question that you were asked by Mr. Officer about the number of use of force incidents. Mr. Officer put to you that there had been 46 by Mr. Rolfe between 2016 and 2019. You recall being asked that question?
Yes.
And you recall Mr. Officer put to you that Mr. Rolfe was not in the top 20 officers for use of force involvements between 2016 and 2019?
Yes.
Take it from me that that is a territory-wide survey. Could I ask that you be provided with pages 30 and 31 of document 1.1 on the brief, which is 2 pages from the report, the final report of Mr. Proctor. Before you look at that, can I just ask you this question, Sergeant? What were you comparing the 46 use of force incidents, the number you were given by Mr. Officer, to?
What was I comparing it to? Just my experience in dealing with frontline policing and the number of complaints certain people get.
So if 46 use of force incidents between 2016 and 2019 isn't many, what would a large number of use of force incidents be?
I wouldn't know. But if you
So-
average it out over 3 years, what are we talking about? 10 or 11 a year or something like that, or once a month for an arrest rate. And that's use of force involvements. That's just putting in a use of force, like ground stabilising or a minor use of force. So it's nothing that's I would deem out of the ordinary.
Okay. Can I ask you to have a look at the table at the bottom of page 30? Take it from me that this table plots the use of force involvements by police officers who graduated with Mr. Rolfe from Squad 129 in 2016. You agree that Mr. Rolfe's name is at the far leftmost column on that table?
Yeah, correct.
And that, in other words, when plotted against a random sample of the police officers with whom he graduated, no other police officer had a higher rate of uses of force than Mr. Rolfe.
Yes, I can see that, but it's based on very limited information, and so I have no idea where these other people, what positions they were, whether they were front line, whether they went into investigative, or whether they were sick or anything. So it's a graph that it provides me with not as much information as I like to know. And
so if you were presented with a graph like this in your capacity as IRT in 2019, would what's depicted there concern you at all? Would it have concerned you at all?
I'd have to put it in context, and there's other members here that have also done the same, and location, based on location, there's a lot of factors. It's not something that we looked at when we brought people in to decide on suitability for IRT.
I just want to be clear about that.
Was current investigations and the current situation. If a person was deemed to be, as you said, a violent person or somebody of a violent nature, then that would be known, and he wouldn't have been given the opportunity to become part of IRT. But that information, it didn't exist, and Mr. Rolfe wasn't considered a violent person or
So I want to be absolutely clear about this. Rates of involvement by police officer in use of force incidents was not something you looked at when assessing their suitability for the IRT, correct?
We did not look at their record and how many use of forces they had had. That wasn't part of the criteria that we looked at.
There's nothing further, Your Honour.
Is there anything advising?
Your Honour, just one topic. I don't think it was covered, and if it was, I will stand corrected. Sergeant, the two messages that you were taken to about Borroloola, I think we landed on you not being sure how many of those Borroloola tours or deployments you were with Mr. Rolfe, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. But there were a number of them? Between 2017 when he joined the IRT and 2019?
Yeah, between 18 and 19 we attended Borroloola quite a few times.
And you and Mr. Rolfe?
I think on at least 2 occasions we were there together.
And on those 2 occasions, did you see any inappropriate conduct by Mr. Rolfe towards members of the community that he was there policing in the course of his duties?
No.
Thank you, Your Honour.
I have 2 questions, if I may. Sergeant, Mr. Coleridge asked you about the video that you looked at, was that the level of professionalism involved that you would expect? When you answered, you want to know more, for instance, were there weapons involved?
Sorry. Oh, yeah, that video we just said. Sorry, yes, I'm catching up.
You're not seriously suggesting to this court, are you, that pushing over those 2 men on the ground was an appropriate response if there was information that weapons were involved?
I'm saying that every situation you've got to assess and all the information that you have makes you provide a informed decision. I wasn't there at that time. It's pretty
Based on
hard.
what you saw, are you suggesting to this court that walking up to two men who appear to be drunk and fighting in a pathetic way, that pushing them over is an appropriate response?
It's, as I stated, it was a decision it's a response which could have been dealt better, but if you've ever been hit by an intoxicated male in the head, it doesn't feel nice.
Just answer the question. Are you saying
Just did.
that pushing over
I
was an appropriate response?
I said it was, I think my term was it could have been handled better.
Yeah, you keep
but-
saying that. Is there any circumstance that, from the video that you saw, that it would be appropriate just to walk up to men who might be armed with weapons on what you said and just push them over?
Depending on the situation and by the time. That could have been, I wasn't there. I'm going from a small snippet of information. I repeated that the situation could have been handled better, especially in retrospect with the information we have.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Sutton? Thank you. Thanks for coming along and giving evidence over the last couple of days. And we will adjourn until 9:30
Your
on
Honour.
Monday.
Your Honour, there's one matter of housekeeping after the witness has been excused.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Coleridge. Officer, you're excused, and there's just another matter that we need to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honour.
Yes, Mr. Coleridge? Yeah, you can step down and take anything that's
Your Honour.
yours.
It's not at all controversial, but we've all been referring to a document and text messages in the document. I thought that it had been marked for identification. It hasn't. So I just asked that that be marked as MFI MMM.
And that's the AMR that sets out the number of entries, 3, I think, or I'm not sure, but from 1 to, or it's 115 pages, I'll put it that way.
Yes, Your Honour.
Yes, that will be MFI MMM.
And Your Honour, I understand that, sorry, messages that are only published to those that have been read on the record in evidence before any other of the messages that are put to Mr. Rolfe, for example, which we might take objection. The whole document's not being displayed.
It's just MFI at this stage.
Just yesterday, what messages were read went up online, which is fine because they were read into evidence, but I just wanted to make sure the whole document wasn't going up because there's some objections.
Sure. So anything that's been addressed in court with witnesses is no longer the subject of a non-publication order, and anything that has not yet been addressed remains under the order. That's
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll adjourn till 9:30 on Monday.
Stand. I want to go and stand adjourned.